and found Ophelia opening the curtains in one of the kids' rooms, inviting the warm sunlight. I asked her to get the kids dressed, drive them to school, and call my mother. Mom would handle everything else. I couldn't say much more, and I told her I had to leave, that it was an emergency. Ophelia didn't speak English very well, but she could read the panic in my eyes. She nodded and set off to the task at hand. It broke my heart that I couldn't say goodbye to my kids. If they saw me leave with the police, they would no doubt ask a million questions and worry their little hearts out. The last thing I wanted to do was give them one more thing to be upset about. I ran back down the stairs, grabbed a jacket and my boots, and left the house with the officers, who escorted me to a waiting police car. Sitting in the back seat, I finally broke down and started to cry. Detective Pietro ignored me and started talking loudly to no one in particular, though it was obvious he knew I couldn't help but hear him. He droned on and on about my husband. You know, Michael's never going to get out of prison. We've got some information on him. He'll be locked up for good this time. Finally, he turned to me, poked his head through the opening in the plastic shield that separates criminal from law enforcer, and said, You know, you can talk to me, Camille. You can tell me anything you'd like to share. I remember thinking, is he that dumb to think I'm going to start rambling on about my husband? Besides, I didn't have anything to say. It was a nightmare. I still didn't know why I was arrested. I vaguely recalled Detective Pietro mentioning something about a deed with a faulty notary seal and signature. It didn't make any sense. I figured, however, that the legal drama had something to do with Michael. It always did. In a blur of tears, I was handcuffed and taken into custody at the Sybil Brand Institute, a women's jail in Los Angeles County. Here's a twist of irony. I happened to be good friends with Sybil Brand. She attended the church Michael and I first attended together. Sybil had converted from Judaism to Christianity and was a well-known philanthropist in town. She had raised a lot of money to build the women's jail because prior to that time, men and women were housed in the same facility. You can imagine the problems that can erupt in a co-ed prison. I was placed in a holding cell with an old, skinny woman who constantly talked to herself. My crying interrupted her gibberish. She turned toward me, flashed a grin that displayed just 2 teeth, and said, Sweetie, don't cry. Let's talk. So what are you here for, anyways? Drugs? I burst into another round of tears, still clasping the bologna sandwich one of the officers had given me. She tried to soothe me again, but my plight was no match for my sandwich. Hey, you gonna eat that? I'm starving. Between heaving sobs, I handed her the plastic bag. She snatched it and chomped her 2 teeth with ecstasy right into the bologna. As she chewed, she continued to mumble at me not to worry. Easy for her to say. An hour or so later, I was reassigned to another cell, a private one. It was freezing, and I didn't have any socks on. I had ran out of the house in bare feet, holding my boots. I spent the first few minutes in jail shivering and sobbing. The girl next to my 6x8 cell had caught a glimpse of my face when I was thrown in. Hi, honey, she said. You look familiar. I think I've seen you someplace before. Her voice was sweet and surprisingly articulate. I hesitated to respond, but it was nice to hear what sounded like a genuinely friendly person. I was grateful for the conversation. No, I don't think so. She wouldn't drop the topic. No, wait, I have. Weren't you featured in Vanity Fair or Life magazine or something with your husband? Yeah, I remember now. You're the one married to the mafioso, right? Bingo. She did know who I was. What a small world. The young woman's name was Nicole. She lived in La Jolla and was the daughter of a prominent, wealthy family. College-educated and cultured. She began associating with the wrong kind of people, then messing with drugs. To fuel her habit, she started stealing from her parents and family friends and writing bad checks. But for the entire length of my stay in jail, Nicole was my guardian angel, calming me down and talking me through the ordeal. She somehow even managed to get me a pair of socks and a Reese's peanut butter cup that day. Nicole told me that the area where our cells were located was a high-profile place. Believe me, it's much better to be back here than with the others, she reassured me. When she gave me the rundown of the other women